Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I wasn't quite in the right spot. Welcome. Excuse me. My name is Neil Thrussell, and I'm really excited to have Lee Smith with us, an award winning professional speaker. And I love that you're a graduate of Les Brown. So, what a powerful, powerful man. And then you're the creative or the creator of a candy method. And I'm like, ooh, this sounds good. And yeah, so welcome, Lee.
Thank you, Neil. So great to be here with you. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So what is the candy method?
The candy method to speaking confidently. Speakers get nervous. They worry about their vocal pauses, the fillers, the ums and the ahs, right? And and how can they show up with confidence on stage? And I created this wonderful method that makes it fun and it gets into the heart of who you are to bring out the best of you. So then when you step out on stage, whether it's virtual or in person or simply a Facebook Live, you shine. CANDY is my acronym. It's for clarity, affirmation, necessity, discipline, and the most fun, all about you. Because Neil, I believe that you have three G's. Every single person on the planet has these three G's. And this is where we build up to the climax. And that is that you have genius, you have gifts, and you have greatness. And through my candy method process, I help you to identify that genius, to unlock those gifts, and to unleash that greatness. And when you do, you can't help but have fun, shine, and you contribute amazingness to the world.
Woohoo! I love that. And we're going to get back to this because we are talking about success. And, everybody knows that, or most people know that it just appeared and you had no problems developing this method, nothing. It was all.
No obstacles whatsoever. I just showed up and it showed up for me too.
But I'd like to take us on a little tour and go backwards in time to sometime little Lee had a vision of what success was. She had goals, hopes, dreams, and aspirations. So share us what a younger version of you thought of success.
Oh, definitely. I think probably my earliest memory was maybe when I was 5 years old. I grasped reading at an early age and I fell in love with it. So, 5 years old, being in kindergarten, I was one of those 100 book readers in the school year. And getting my certificate for reading 100 books, that felt successful. And then a way where I was challenged and I was going for that success was in second grade when I wanted to participate in the spelling bee. And I came up one short. I was the first runner up. I was so disappointed. I wanted to win that spelling bee so badly. I wanted to succeed at that. But I learned the success lesson that success isn't always winning. Success can be maybe coming up a little bit short, but you take the gift away from that experience. What did you learn? And what I learned was I don't have to be perfect. I learned new words, of course, and I also learned ongoing that misspelling is a pet peeve of mine because I
Oh
wanted that
no.
success so bad. Now, in this day and age where we have the technology and the autocorrect, I have gotten lax on my spelling so that, yes, I it's no longer a pet peeve, but for the longest time it really was. But that was success. And then also sports wise, I fell in love with Nadia Comaneci, the gymnast who scored the
Yep.
perfect 10. So when I got
Yeah.
into gymnastics, I wanted to work as hard as her. And I had coaches who supported me along that journey. I really didn't have the body and the flexibility. I had the work ethic to work my way towards the Olympics. However, my dad also poured into me like, if the Olympic path is really the way that you want to go, it's so much sacrifice. Are you ready? Do you really think you're ready to have all of that sacrifice? And I realized, yeah, It's a wonderful dream to think of, and to be the best gymnast possible while I'm doing gymnastics is something that I want to strive towards. But there were other things in life that I wanted to experience, so I did reach a stopping point as far as pursuing becoming an Olympic gymnast. So those are different examples of success that I would say showed up in my life for me.
Cool. And if we were in middle school together, you would have hated me. My spelling was atrocious, and it still is. Thank goodness for the red lines and the blue lines and Grammarly and an autocorrect. And
Right?
'cause it, yeah,
And what I've learned, Neil, and this is part of my three G's, the genius, the gifts, and the greatness, is that we are all great at something. We're not all great at everything, and we're not all great at the same thing. And that's what makes the world a beautiful place, because what you're great at, I might be weak in, and vice versa. And that's the way we get to work together, to collaborate, and working together, we get to do amazing things.
absolutely. And I love it because now, so somewhere along the line, you went from this gymnast to this now uh, speaker and teaching the candy method. And we all know it's a linear, straight path, no mistakes, no bumps in the road. Well, okay, in my world, it's that way. But then I usually just wake up and go, "Oh, what's going on?" No,
Right? Can I go back to sleep? It was so much easier there.
absolutely. So, did the younger version of you, if the younger version, somebody would have said, Lee, you're going to be a speaker and you're going to speak on stage and you're going to create this a speaking method to help people. Would the younger version of you gone, yeah, okay.
Oh, well, it's an interesting story, Neil, because I was 8 years old when I had my first public speaking opportunity, if you will.
Ooh.
Because I was the confident reader from kindergarten, like I mentioned earlier, I was asked to read the scriptures in front of the congregation at a service. And because I was the confident reader, I said, yes, I will do that. And because stage fright was not part of my vocabulary, therefore not part of my experience, I did it. I got up in front of the congregation of 300 people at that time, read the scripture, walked away, and that's when the magic hit me. There was this vibrating feeling rising through my body, and I thought, what is that feeling and how do I get more of that? So I was the kid who always wanted to be in front of the classroom, not as a know-it-all and not as a all attention on me type of thing. It was, I feel like I have something to share and I want to see how it lands for you. So then when I got into college, I pursued becoming a corporate motivational speaker because I could travel, I could create impact, I can make great money, live on what I need, put the rest aside so that when I would eventually get married and become a mom, I could live my dream as a stay-at-home mom. And just when I had all of this lined up perfectly for me, right, Neil? Had this beautiful plan for myself, God, the universe said, ha 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 ha, that's what you think. And I had literally a massive car accident that put me in the hospital for 11 days, took me over 3 months to recover. I had to learn how to walk again, and it pivoted the entire direction of my life. Long story short, I eventually got married. I became a mom. I lived my dream as a stay at home mom, loved every day with my daughter. She's now grown and out of the house. And I didn't have a plan for the next chapter of my life. I didn't even envision what is my day going to look like when I become an empty nester. And I hit a massive depression. And when I was working myself out of this depression and I reclaimed my joy, believe it or not, Neil, it was that 8-year old who came up in the back of my mind and she was laughing. And I was thinking, who is this and what is going on? And she said, don't you remember? Remember that feeling? We love public speaking. Let's go do that. And she kept laughing again. And I thought, oh my goodness, how did I almost forget this dream? And I started pursuing it. In 2018, I set the goal for myself. I want to speak at 20 different events, whether it's in person or podcasts, because podcasts were just becoming
Yep.
more and more popular. And it took me from January to December. And I thought, can I do it in 2019 in half the time? So I hit 20 speaking opportunities in 2019 before the end of May. And I continued on the rest of the year doing more and more. And I was putting on my own events, and I was in this wonderful momentum. And of course, 2020 in March, everything came to a halt. And then I had to rethink, where am I going to take this now? And thankfully, the pandemic allowed us this whole virtual opportunity, because now I'm sharing this wonderful stage with Neil and we're not even in the same area. So this
Yeah.
is so fantastic. And to take this dream out into the world of sharing my message and making an impact, and now helping others who feel like they have a voice and a story and a message to share, to be able to create that additional ripple. Yeah, that little 8-year-old self, she is just doing a little happy dance every day.
That's wonderful. So what I noticed that you had a plan, and then life happened and you lost your plan, and then life happened and you delayed a plan because you were raising, and I still can't believe that you're old enough to, looking at you, that you're old enough to have a child that's moved out, unless it's like a child, you kicked your child out at 3 or 4. So now you have this child that you've kicked out of your house and they're living on, no, and now you rediscovered a plan. And as I was talking to people, somewhere most successful people have this thing called a plan or goals and dreams. How how instrumental was having this dream, goals, or plan into your continued success? You're reinventing yourself.
Yeah, no, it's so important, because like I mentioned, even in my candy method, the C's to clarity. And that clarity is about what makes you happy. This was the key question to pull myself out of my depression. Lee, what does make you happy? At that time, I knew what made my husband happy. I've been married to him for 15 years at that point. I knew how to appease my stepson. We had a bit of a strained relationship, but we could still get on with each other, and I knew how to appease him. I knew how to bring joy to my daughter's face and make her happy. But when I thought about myself at that point, I was clueless. And so I had to get clear on that. So many people, when you ask them, hey, what makes you happy? Oh, well, when I don't have this and I don't have that going on. You hear a lot of don'ts. And it's like, okay, I hear a lot of what doesn't make you happy, but the question was, what does make you happy? And you might find 70 to 80% of the people say, I don't know. And I was one of those. And I thought,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, well, I need to first get clear on what makes me happy, because it's the dream that's going to make you happy. And if you don't know what your happiness is, we can't quite get to the dream. It doesn't spark the imagination, it doesn't spark the creativity,
Yeah.
it doesn't get deep enough into the heart to say, hey, what is the desire? And when I realized, yeah, I want to fulfill the dream of that 8-year-old little inner child, it's like, oh my gosh, it's been there this whole time. I just stuck a pin in it. And like Neil said, yeah, I kind of forgot about it because I was so engrossed in living the dream of being the stay-at-home mom, which was another dream. It's like, oh, well, that chapter's come to a close in a sense. Of course, I'll always be a mother, but I don't have to be the stay-at-home mom role anymore. And so stepping back into that after figuring out, yes, what makes me happy, then letting that create the picture of, well, what do I want my life to look like in this chapter and moving forward? And then where am I now? Because now is just a starting point. There's no
Yes.
good or bad about it. It's just a starting point, and I have where I want to be. And like, oh, well, what's the roadmap or the pathway or the steps that are going to get me there? And then I just keep moving forward and keep moving forward.
Because we all know, as I've said before, it's a linear straight path.
Yeah. Yeah, totally linear.
Yeah. Um, it's I love that the fact that many of the speakers and yourself have been including that Success comes from knowing what you want and taking the incremental steps of moving towards that. And what you were just did with your finger there was implying that it can take many, your path is never straight and it can go in any direction, and it's being comfortable with that. So let's just change focus a little bit here. So we pick any ultra uber successful musician, um, an Olympic athlete, life coach, Les Brown. Oh, well, I love Les Brown. I haven't used Les Brown. So, what do you think took Les Brown from his normal everyday? What made Les Brown more successful, in your opinion, than someone else that started out in that radio station that he begged to be in, or whatever? So, what do you think made Les Brown so successful?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love this question, Neil. And I love that you're using less because I can use Les's words. You gotta be hungry, right? You gotta want that desire so much. And that hunger, it's clear. You don't just say, oh, I'm hungry, I'll eat anything. You say, oh no, I want the best bun. Like it's gotta be toasted just right where there's a crispness, and yet when I bite into it, there's a softness. And then the super fresh lettuce and the thick cut tomato that when I bite into it, the juices just squirt in my mouth. And then the burger, it's gotta be cooked just right, charred on the outside just enough. And then when I bite into it, all those succulent juices from the burger, it's so specific, that clarity that I mentioned before. And then you're so hungry for it that nothing is going to get in the way. If you know Les Brown's story about getting into that radio station, absolutely nothing was going to stop that man. And when you read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and again you get into that commitment of desire, nothing stops. And really, when you make that decision, you get clear and you're like, I am deciding I want this, and I'm deciding I will do whatever it takes to get that. The opportunities just open up, and the pathway becomes clear. Like as you're dreaming it and thinking it, you're like, I'm starting here. This is over here. I don't know the how. You don't have to know the how. The how reveals itself along the way. But you have to be so hungry that you're committed and convicted you're going to have it no matter what. And then it's the consistency of showing up every day. And if it's the smallest step, it's what you're going to do. If you feel it in you to take bigger steps, you'll do it. Like Tony Robbins says, if you want massive results, you have to take massive actions. But friends, you don't have to take massive action every day, but you do have to move every day. And so when you have that consistency of moving every day, whether it's just the slightest or a giant leap, you will get there. You will achieve that desire. Getting clear, making a decision, being so convicted that nothing is going to stop you, and then you take that consistent action, success becomes inevitable.
I love it. And I can't believe that we are almost out of time. So I'm going to ask you if you could leave your our listeners and our viewers and those taking this up on replay, what would you like to leave our listeners and viewers with?
Friends, if I can have you see the world just a little bit differently, I want to share my mission with you. And this is visual. If you can see here, I am on a mission to transform the reactor. And the reactor is someone who has an idea, but they aren't super clear. And really they see themselves in the middle of all the things, the expectations, the distractions, pulling different directions, and they're not really clear, and they think life happens to them, so they're living by convenience and circumstance. And what I am on the path to do is to help take them out, see themselves for the person they are, see their 3 Gs. They get clear on what makes them happy, and then they can prioritize what matters most to them. So, with that clarity, they live by that commitment, and then they get to create the day, the week, the month, the year, the life that they truly desire. So, the difference is, how do you see yourself? Because the way you see yourself is the way you will behave and live. And if you want help with that, that's what I'm here for. And if I can share that real quick right now, Neil, that I would love to give 30 minutes of my time to you. And you can do that by going to bit.ly/capital G, the number 3 CALL. So it's bit.ly G3 call. And I would love to have that chat with you.
Well, thank you so much, Lee, for being part of this and sharing your wisdom. I truly honor the information and your time for being with us.
Thank you, Neil. My pleasure.